All right, guys, so today we're back on BMW stuff. We're back on a E53. This is a 2004 E53 4.4. So this is N62, not M62TU. So we're not working on the engine today. What we are working on is the transmission. So we had this thing in here a while back. We made a video on it. It's been months and months ago. And the fluid in it was pretty much black at that point. And this thing has, what do I have on it? 197,000 or right 200,000 miles on it. And so we changed the fluid, and that tremendously helped that we changed it one more time since then, fluid and filter. And what we're having now is a random error code, transmission code, where it goes into failsafe. And what that code basically says is incorrect ratio and well, shifting to 3 to 4. So, but it's not all the time. You may be able to drive this for an hour and never do it. You might drive it 5 minutes and do it. But most of the time it does shift correctly. So that tells us a couple things. When we did this, we did not do the solenoids. We also did not do the mechatronic sleeves. And those are two things we did get today. So what we're going to do today is pull the pan down, pull the valve body out. We'll swap the solenoids, put the new sleeves in, put it back together, and give one more fill of fresh fluid. And that should take care of this. We're either going to see a solenoid that's bad, somewhat bad, or the mechatronic sleeve is ripped. But we're about to find that out just here in a few minutes. All right, so let's just go ahead and drain this. So I can't ram my hand in the metal frame there. Ordinarily, we would always check the, let me back of the old camera there in a second. Always want to check the fill plug first, make sure you get it out, but we know we can't on this one because we've already done it on this. It's still brownish, look at that. It's not bad. A little brown tint to it, as expected. But when it's not red, see how it's red? When it's not red at all, that's when you got a real problem. Doesn't smell burnt, it smells like good transmission fluid. All right, let's go ahead and zip this thing apart. Okay, so how we do is break this down out here. That's what I see. That's all you got. So what we did here is we got 4 bolts left in 1 each corner. So we have our drain set back here. Remember how this one ring out, they're going to have the front. So let's loosen up. Let's take these. We start with. We just have to see. All right. We'll set that up. We're going to loosen the front a little bit so we got down. Go hang down. The best way to set our hands so we face. All right. In theory, it's going to tip down and dump a lot of this stuff out in our pan here. But so far, nothing. So far, nothing. So let's ram our head in the tire real quick. Toss that down the side. Let's pull it down. And let's dump this. There we go. That's the way it's supposed to turn out. You can see the filter and everything up in there. And let's just pull this to the back a smidge. Like that. And now we're gonna do nothing for about 10 minutes. We're gonna let all that crap run out of there. We need to pull the filter out. I don't think this filter had bolts in it, did it? There we go. Let all the gravy run out of it. And you can see on the back here, I do. Let's set that right there. On the back here, there is solenoids. I'll grab it a light. Get Philip on the back side here. That's what we're going to change. And so what we're going to do on all the bolts up in the valve body, there's bigger ones and there's smaller ones. We're going to take all the bigger ones out and we're going to gingerly let it down. We got to unplug everything as we're doing that. And once we have it out, put it on our tray over there. We'll take this row of bolts out here and we'll swap the solenoids. Yeah. Oh boy. All right, back here is that we pulled the latch down. That locks it. Take this other back one out. This is always such a nasty job. I remember the first time I did this on a 6 HP was on the ground. My Black E60, that 528XI. It was just not all that much of a good time, to be honest. Some of these are longer, some are shorter. You can't really mix them up because they just won't go in the wrong hole. Oh. What was the deal with this? I think once you let that down, we have to make sure and line this back up. That's what they call the TC valve, I guess. And just look in here to see. Oh boy. At some point in time here, it's gonna be released. You're never gonna take them all out so it falls. And you kind of see what's going on there. Little nasty, huh? Can't let it drain as we go. So we got these two up here are in. So we're using the pan as a guide. Now if you're really cool, you got the big thing that snaps on top of your oil drain. We're not that cool, so we got to use the ghetto style here. And if we reach in there and try to get it off real quick right now, we're gonna be taking a bath in this stuff. So as we let this down, our mechatronic seals are going to come down with it. Now, if I remember right, there was another plug in here somewhere. Maybe not. Ew. Transmission jobs are always so weird because the stank is just like terrible. So I think we're down to the last one here. I'll go ahead and try to hold up on it as much as I can. All right, so all we did is pull this out of the transmission. This plug is actually hanging up on this piece. So we pop that out, and then we're just going to basically take this. We put 2 bolts back in it just to hold it while we're fiddling with it. There's one. And there's 2. Let that go down there. Throw that down there. So what we had done wrong, we took the plug out the very last and it bound it up. We couldn't drop it down. I'll dump a bunch of this out. We're going to put this in this tray over here. Good Lord. Okay, so we got the mechatronics kit, but it did not come with everything. What it did come with was some of these and some of these. This one's the one that we just took out of the car. It's still nice and soft, so somebody's done those. Makes you a little more confident about not doing the rest of them because we don't have them to do, right? We were going to put a new one of these in there, so that's no big deal. That wasn't leaking anyway, the plug socket. And then all we're going to do at this point in time, we're going to take the solenoids out, the solenoid rack out, you may say. And this thing should separate. Was there other bolts in this? Yes, there was. All right. We'll have the old fingies off here a little bit. We're going to run from this side. I'll make sure I take the right ones out here. We got 1, 2. That's a third one. I think that's probably it, but we're going to find out soon enough. One was on the bottom right here. I have to take, yeah, I take these two here out. Are we loose? No. There's a very important tip. If you ever change one of these transmissions, you must change this whole mechatronic unit to the other transmission or it will not work one bit whatsoever. All right, so is that all the bolts that hold that in? We've probably got one more right there. That's a shorter one. And then are we going to have to take these other two out? I would venture to say yes. Gotta be really careful with everything on this unit because you don't want to break anything. Like if that falls on the floor and breaks like that, some bad news. Okay, so now we're down to our solenoids here. And our solenoids are essentially going to come out one by one. All right, so let's go ahead and go down the line here. Take these out one at a time. You see it's got some, look at the goo stuck in there in the little screen. See that? Oh, it's all over down there. So we opted for the reman OEM ones instead of the Chinese new ones. They're about the same price. Okay. little bit of goo in that one. A little piece in that one. Unless we're being careful to put the right color back in the right hole here. And the very last one. So it's only the one that had a lot of gravy in it, a lot of debris. Kind of line them all back up. And where was that one at? There's got a bunch of crap in it. So usually what happens, the screens will get somewhat stopped up, and this could have happened since we changed the fluid last too. Screens get stopped up, and then it can't function correctly, the solenoid. It can't flow oil through it to function. And it could have crap down inside of it too. We just don't know. And it'll basically make it not shift. That's why I always tell you guys, on these transmissions, you have to change the fluid. It's not an old Chevy. Oh, I don't want to change it because it's going to ruin the transmission. That's opposite of these. These are not that way at all. It is a very much a thing you have to do on these. Looking to make sure everything looks good. We'll put it back down on there. We're going to... We're just going to do everything very gently. And I'll show you here once we get that done. Got to turn all these just a hair to get them all lined up. Well, something like that. And we end up with that TC valve, or I call it TC valve. Maybe it's not what's called a ZF, but right there, it's in the little nipple down there on that brown piece, so it can't fall out, if you can see that or not. And what we're going to do now is turn up on its side. And we're going to start off by putting all the bolts back in. And the very first two ones that go in were these shorter ones. I believe that was that. That's the other thing. Transmission guys doing these jobs, man, it's so hard to keep your tools clean. I guess so I see a lot of guys using like old school metal air impacts. I guess because you can't really ruin the plastic on them. There's no plastic on them, just metal. And then pretty much we'll just go reassemble all these bolts back in. We're ready to put it back in the car. Okay, so we're just going to pick that up, wipe our mating surfaces off, go right back in there. Grab one of these. We're going to line up our gear shifter stuff. We'll do here with a skit. I'm at a weird angle, I can't actually see anything.
just got a couple bolts in it. Just enough to hold it, and it's got it held in there. Let me make sure that whenever we, it's dripping down the back of my neck. Awesome. Make sure when you snug that up, that everything's lined up and everything's good. All right. I'll grab this guy. You can see that we're in the notch on our shifter. So that should all function correctly. We got our short screws go back here in the back. Oh, didn't want to go that tight, but okay. We'll snug them up and then we'll come back, and what we're going to do is torque them all down with a ratchet. All right, so we're going to put a little connector in, and we have to turn it. I got a little hand in front of it, I can't do it left-handed. Turn it like that. You're going to feel it go in. We're going to push it all the way in by pushing up on this. So once you think it's all the way in, can we get it all the way up? Not yet. She's a bad spot, boys. Need some more leverage. I want my little hands to get, there it is. Goes right in. And then right away we go and put the plug back in it. Turn it, find our notch. Like so. These damn plugs are so crispy all the time. A little bit like that, so it clicks, and we're done with that. We'll put all the bolts back in the valve body where they're supposed to go, and I think we're ready to reinstall the filter and put the pan back on, ready to refill the transmission. Just wipe the gasket off. These don't take any sealer. We're going to put this back up like so. A couple bolts started in it. So we can then let go of it. And then we'll commence on putting the rest of them in. All right, so we're out driving it. Going through the gears, it's perfect. So we're thinking probably what's more likely what's happened. One of the solenoids were stopped up. And even though we changed the fluid, it's been changed twice. This is the third refill. You know, once they get stopped up and they can't function, it cooks the inside of them. And it was still functioning a little bit, but it's still kind of jacked up. It would randomly throw the light. So we've driven it further now than we did before, and it hasn't done light at all. And it's not shifting weird, it's shifting perfect. And we did not film the fill procedure. And how we fill these, take the side plug out of the transmission, 3 quarts in before you start the car. Never ever start the car with it empty. 3 quarts in, you start the car. It's about another 4 to 5 quarts. This one took almost, it took about 7.5 quarts-ish to get totally full. And that's it, guys. It's up and running and functioning very well. No problem. See you later.